Let's go, girls. Welcome to Talk Wealthy to Me. I'm Michelle Taylor, founder of Women in Wealth. From breaking money myths to building wealth and achieving financial freedom, we're here to empower you to create your own path. Talk Wealthy. Now, join the conversation and let's change the way women think and feel about money. Okay, ready? Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Talk Wealthy to Me podcast. I am Michelle Taylor, and I'm here today with Madison Hollimon, who is basically changing the social media and marketing game for so many entrepreneurs out there. You are the CEO of Mad Marketing House. Thank you for coming on and tell us your story.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you today. So we are an authentic content creation social media agency based in Augusta, Georgia, but we travel all over the U.S. We have clients from California to New York to Miami. And my mission has been creating the authentic storytelling through social media, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, whatever the platform of your choice is or wherever your audience is.
Okay.
And creating content that not only goes viral, but converts organically as well as through paid advertising. So we've done a really great job of mixing this beautiful recipe of organic content to boosted content to paid advertising campaigns. So we have a full team in-house. We do everything right inside of Augusta, and we are able to just deploy this amazing creative team no matter where our clients are.
So how does a girl from Georgia build something like this in such a in-your-face, amazing way, and at your age? How did that start?
So it's interesting because I'm the eldest of 5 girls, and my father is a very successful entrepreneur in his industry. He builds some of the most exotic and most expensive center consoles and sends them all over the world.
Wow.
And he's been doing that for the past 25 years. So basically my entire life I witnessed and sat at the table over dinner with celebrities and billionaires. And I had this crazy experience as a little girl of witnessing him create this business and manufacture in the United States. But behind all the glamour and all the amazing times, there was a lot of lows. And when you bootstrap a company, when he was 21 years old, started this business, taught himself everything, there's a lot of lows. And being the oldest of 5 girls, I truly call myself the family manager to this day.
I love that.
It's funny because a couple of my sisters actually work for me now.
Yep.
But I witnessed times where it was feast or famine. And I remember vividly as a little girl being in the car and my parents having $5. That was it.
Well, and in that world, it's not like your dad is slinging, 30 of these amazing yachts to, every quarter. It's not like these are huge ticket items that I can imagine. Yeah. In times of economic downturn, or if there's anything going on, that's the first thing that someone's going to put off until a later date. So,
and that was the thing. It was, he would sell a boat. We would have $500,000 sale. It was celebrate with sushi dinner. And then in between the sales, when there was no sales for 6 months, 12 months, there was no money. And I remember witnessing my mom when there was no money be depressed and staying in her room. And then as soon as the wire deposit hit, she's out shopping, they're traveling, they're happy. And I remember telling myself, I never want to be put in that financial position because I knew eventually one day I wanted to own my own company. I just didn't know when that would happen.
Okay.
And what's interesting about it is I have found myself in some of the same situations.
Even today.
Exactly.
So, wow. Okay. So I love that you just said that because so oftentimes people think if you started one way and you build something different, it must mean that you're perfect all the time and you never do the things that you promised yourself you wouldn't do. So tell us about that. What does that look like for you?
So, obviously when I set out, I wanted to do it a specific way. And when I started the agency, it was, okay, we have one client, we have two clients, we have three clients. Okay, I need to hire an employee. I need to hire another employee. And we genuinely grew organically. And when you have fast growth, double your business in 12 months, double your team in 12 months, that comes at an expense.
Oh, yeah.
And when you're expensing that yourself and you're not taking money from investors, you're not selling part of your company, you're doing it yourself, things are expensive.
Yeah.
And when you want to buy equipment in our industry, equipment's expensive. We have to have really nice computers. You have to have office space for your team. And that's all at a high cost. And I quickly found myself scaling this business and having to pinch pennies whenever a slew of clients fell off or I lost a big team member. And I remember specifically almost 12 months ago, I had my third baby and I had a really amazing team in place at the time. And I really anticipated being able to take a full maternity leave. And I specifically had two women paying almost 6 figures a year running my company. And about 5 weeks before I went out on maternity leave, I had a call from a client that made up 40% of our recurring revenue and gave me a 4-week notice. And that was that was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do?
And you were pregnant at this time too.
8 months pregnant.
I mean, worst timing ever. So what did you do?
So I bootstrapped the company. I took out a loan against me and my husband personally and put the cash in the business, said, okay, I'm going to let this sit here. When I get back from maternity leave, I'll fix it. I just want to go out and have my baby and enjoy it. And my son was 5 days old, and I got an email notice from one of the two women that was running my company, a 2-week notice. And then the very next day, not even 24 hours later, I received another email from the other woman that was running the rest of my business. And I looked at my husband, and I was like, I'm going to have to go back to work. So at 2 weeks old, I took the nanny and my 2-week-old, and we went back to work.
Oh my gosh. And I mean, those are big, impactful, emotional blows. I mean, forget the hormonal piece of just have had a baby, but just for anybody that runs a company and also is contributing so much to your family's well-being, I mean, it can change in the blink of an eye. So you almost got a chance to start completely over.
We literally started completely over.
Which I love. What did you do differently the second time, if anything?
I was really intentional at that time. Several of the other people on our team went with the two women that was running my business. They kind of, one bad apple spoiled the entire bunch. And I basically rehired all but 3 team members. And I made an evaluation of what type of clientele did I want to serve. And we literally went after that clientele. Cold messaging on Instagram. Hey, we have an amazing content creation team. We would love a chance to get on a call with you and create a strategy. And that's exactly what we did. Call after call, we would sign these people. We would go travel to them, shoot content. And before we knew it, I was in the green by like 25%. And took about 6 months of just grinding it out every single day.
And now during this time, your husband also works for your family's business.
Yes.
So is it still that way where it's, feast or famine within that world? I can imagine it hasn't changed much. So that also it's different when you have a spouse that is working in a field that has consistency. That is not the case for you guys either, right? There's still some inconsistency there.
Yeah, so my husband is in sales and 75% of his income is commission. And while I'm experiencing this crazy downturn in our company, he's experiencing the worst year he's ever had financially.
Of course.
And I was literally one day just faced with the challenge of, do I like make payroll for my team, or do I just have my family second car repossessed? And in the moment I chose the team because I'm a girl's girl. And it's interesting because about 90 days later, I lost those team members.
And I think that, yes, you're a girl's girl, and she is truly, but also you were betting on yourself, because paying your team allowed your company to continue on. And, God works in mysterious ways. Those people aren't with your team anymore, but your team is, the business is still here. So I would like to believe that you chose 100% the right course of action. But when that was happening, I cannot imagine how scary that was. I mean,
Oh, it was terrifying. I would wake up every day with a pit in my stomach of how was I gonna make it through today?
and I think there's such a powerful message here in that not only did you make it through that day and the next day and the next day, but now to see what you have built is truly incredible. And for anybody out there that thinks that it's all glamour and it's all fun, I think it's so important to see the other side of things and realize that there are mouths to feed that are counting on you and the success of your business. And while that can also be scary, it's also so much a driver. And I think that you've done a really good job at pushing through and building something remarkable all on your own. And not to leave out the most important part, but you have children. You have 3 kiddos. Your daughter is 9, so she's old enough to understand and get and look at what you're doing and what you do with money, what you do with the relationships around you, your business, how you conduct yourself. And I've seen it firsthand, and I know you're just knocking it out of the park, as we all hope to do. So tell me a little bit about that. Are you having conversations with her yet about money, about how it can be used as a tool, the things to do, the things not to do? Maybe, she sees also probably what you saw growing up. You're just trying to manage it a little bit differently.
Absolutely. I would say I try, work doesn't stop when I leave the office or when I get home from a trip. It carries on through the night. It's when me and my husband, I feel like, do our best work is when we're together and we can communicate about, certain challenges. And she's sitting there listening to those conversations, which I think is going to make her a stronger person in business as she's older. But I will say that she's very cognitive of money and budgets. And, obviously I pay her every year. I
Love
max
that.
out what I can, that $14,600 a year. She gets that. But that money's used for, if she wants, right now we're in competitive cheerleading. It pays for competitive cheerleading. If she wants to go shopping, she can pull from her budget from there. Like right now we're planning a trip to New York City to go to the American Girl store. And she's like, Mom, do I have an unlimited budget? I said, no, you don't have an unlimited budget.
Check your account.
We have to set one. Yeah. So I try to do a little bit better when it comes to talking about money and stressful situations around my kids, but I find myself falling into those same habits.
So when you think back to when you were young and you're sitting at these tables with, these powerful, famous people, when you were sitting at the table with just your family, were you guys talking about money? Were you talking about what it could do for you, what it couldn't do for you? I feel like I can relate so much because my dad was an entrepreneur. I will never forget in 2009, walking in during the recession that we were in. He's in construction, his company is, and literally seeing him crying on the corner of his bed. And I had no idea how to react to that or what to do. And I think that I got to see firsthand the other side of entrepreneurship, but he wasn't having those conversations with me about what to do. Were you all talking about it in your family?
Yeah, I mean, to this day we're together and all we do is talk about work and my dad's work. That's all that's talked about because 2 of my other sisters run his company. And I will say growing up, my parents weren't, I'm really big in real estate. We've done some flip projects. We've had some Airbnbs. We love real estate. My mom and dad probably rented 65 to 70% of my life living with them. They never owned homes very long, if they did.
Mm-hmm.
And to this day, I'll call my dad up and I'm like, hey, like, let's build a spec house together. Like, let's make $100,000 on the spec house. And he's like, not worried about that. He wants the next $2 million sale.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like that's one thing that if they could have done super young, would have been a huge payoff for them today. And I think that's definitely one of those things that I want to do differently.
So how do you do that differently? What are you doing to make sure it happens?
So when I was 20 years old, I started doing wedding and event planning. And I also worked for a plastic surgeon full time. And I had a 3-year-old. And basically I took all the money I made from wedding and event planning, which was decent money, doing about 3 to 4 weddings a month.
Okay.
And I put it in a savings account. And as soon as we had a property come available, we paid cash for it within 12 months and we flipped it. So we were able to triple our money on this lot that we cleared, graded, put a driveway in. And then we took that money, put into another property and then another property, and it just grows. And it's fun. It's fun to see. It's really satisfying to see something older get revived and somebody else love it differently. So I think that's just really rewarding.
So you've started this at a young age, and now it's all about creating the disciplines. And I know a lot of your story. You know, we are friends outside of this bubble, but I think you've done a really good job of always looking at the next thing that you want to do and working towards it. You are crystal clear on what those goals are. And I love that you are doing it in a way that, I mean, you call your dad and say, do you want to do this together? But you're doing it on your own if you so choose. And I think that that is incredible. So you mentioned that your sisters work for the family business. What made you decide not to? Was that ever something you could have done and chose against? Or what did that look like?
So I started out in my junior year of high school. My dad bought me a car and I had to mop the 3,000 square foot office once a week to earn my gas money. And from then I started working for him and doing marketing for him until I graduated college with a marketing degree. And my dad and I are way too much alike. Mm-hmm. Like we are the same person. And I noticed that fresh out of school. And I was like, you know, my dad's never going to pay me crazy money. And I have similar tastes to my mom. And I can't afford nice bags working for my dad. So I got to go do something myself. That's what I did.
And did you always know? I mean, you got a marketing degree. Did you know this is the direction you wanted to go?
It's funny because I remember having visions when I was I would say 8 years ago, 3 years before starting the agency. And I would envision this room of women sitting at this long table with all these computers collaborating. And I started the agency almost 5 years ago. We were in a different commercial building that I still own, but we're not in anymore. And I moved the business closer to Augusta, the city, and rented a space. And I got the space set up like maybe 3 months after moving in there. And that's exactly my vision, is that room.
So you've already checked the box for the vision. I mean, how amazing is that? And you've got plenty of time for the next vision. And especially now, I mean, I think that the world has changed so much with social media and what marketing means. And you've found a way to stand out from the masses. But for anybody that's listening that wants a career in, you know, this space or to be an influencer, and that's a real thing now, being on YouTube and all of those things, what would you tell them?
Get all the experience that you can. When I probably get a dozen applications a week, work for our agency. And I think it's great if you graduated from this amazing college, got this amazing degree, but I want to see what your portfolio looks like. I want to see examples of your work. I want to see what your social media page looks like. And we take a lot of interns. We take interns over the summer, fall, and spring. A lot of them are invited back to work with us full time. But I would say the biggest, most valuable thing you can do is get the experience. And once you have the experience and you decide to do something on your own, learn your audience.
That's great advice, because for so many, just anybody that owns a business, it's so easy to try and be the answer for multiple people and multiple, ideal client profiles. But the reality is know your audience, really become the expert in your lane, and then shift around. But you can't be for everybody. So find your audience, get the experience you need, and then become the go-to, the thought leader in that space, and then try and build something on your own. I mean, it's just so cool to see, because like I said, I know you personally really well, and you are really good under pressure, and you lead with grace, and you're always calm, and that is so valuable. And I think that only comes from being in situations that are uncertain, and going back to you being the family manager, right? You managed, sisters.
Mm-hmm.
Wild.
Our house was chaos, absolute chaos growing up.
So what did you learn from those young beginning years that your parents or your dad did that you loved, that you want to continue to emulate?
I just loved the big family dynamic, us being so close. I mean, we're still super close today. I live within 20 minutes of all my sisters. And at the end of the day, like, being able to trust your family, with your family is extremely hard, but it's extremely rewarding. And especially after everything we went through as a company last year, and trust was broken with a lot of employees, I really leaned in on my family and was like, look, guys, if we're going to scale and rebuild this company, like, I need you. I need to be able to trust you and know that you're all in. And I think that was one of the most pivotal moments for us, was being able to lean in on the family.
I love that. One of the benefits of having big family, having siblings and being close, those times of scary uncertainty, having that foundation is a game changer. So you alluded to it, but I know that you love pretty things. One of the things that we have in common.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you manage that? Like, what is your approach to it? Because you've seen so much, right? And you want to do better, and you're raising daughters, and you are doing better. And you and I have talked about this. Like, how do you manage the want and the seeing it and knowing that you're growing a business, and then that fear of never, spending and doing when you feel like you might be better served doing something else? What's your approach to all that?
So the first 2 years of our company, we scaled and doubled and tripled revenue. And I had all this money. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can buy these things that I've like always wanted. And I bought the bags. I paid for the vacations. I did it all. I spent it all. And after rebuilding for the second time, yes, I still occasionally treat myself to something nice, whether it's a pair of shoes or a bag, but I try to do it in moderation. And I'm not as invested in those pretty things as I like. Yes, I still love them and I want them, but it's not as important to me now that I had it. I rather invest and have the properties and the wealth and the cash in the bank and
income streams, money working for you, all of those
exactly
things.
Multiple streams of income, and those diversifying your portfolio is what I learned through all these years was what's most important to me.
Well, and I love that so much because, some people will say, this is what I love and I'm going to go out and go after it. And that's great. As long as you're not getting yourself into trouble, live the best version of your life. And if that's what it is, so be it. But I also love the stories that are like, okay, I've done it and it's so fun. And I still like to do it sometimes, but you always continue to evolve. Both versions of that story are okay. But I think the biggest thing you can do and the gift that you can give yourself is to give yourself the permission to live whichever reality feels the most authentic to you. If there's no shame in wanting the nice, fun, pretty things. And certainly there's it's to be celebrated when you evolve, but also there's nothing wrong with not evolving. So I love that you find a way to do both. I love being in an and universe. What do you think is a piece of advice that you would give 20-year-old Madison, or even 22 or 25-year-old Madison that had even more time under her belt knowing what you know now?
It's interesting how you said that I was very patient and calm and worked well under pressure. And that came with a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish that maybe I was a little bit more patient, not as quick to react. That was one thing I've learned, is to not react. I process things first and then I make a decision. And I think if I could have done a lot more of that when I was younger and save more money. I mean, I did a pretty good job of saving money, but I spent a lot of money as well. I think those would probably be the main things.
I feel like we've all said those things before. It's so funny that no matter how different the story is, there are still these things that are not difficult, but we just have to have the conversations and talk about it and talk about what the impact is of making those decisions. So I love that you're doing that. You're leading this amazing company. You have family involvement. You have daughters looking at you. And I just think you're doing such a great job. If anybody listening wants to follow along and see all of the amazing things that you're building and doing, what is the best way for them to do that?
So we would love to have you follow us on Instagram, Mad Marketing House. I believe it's our digital portfolio of all of our amazing content and travels and the teams behind the scenes. And follow us there. And literally every day we post fun stuff.
Well, I adore you and know that everyone listening will be able to relate to so many pieces of your story. I think that you're doing a great job and deserve to be celebrated, just like all of you do, regardless of what that story of success is. Take the moment, celebrate the good, and build towards the better. And as always, like, share, subscribe. Don't keep us a secret, and let's keep changing the way women think and feel about money together.